All I can say is, to me, it's a basic matter of integrity on the part of Canada. Canada is trading integrity for money. That's what's happening under the current leadership in Canada, which is a very poor imitation of the George Bush administration in the United States.
Ryan Doyle in for Ezra tonight. There you have Neil Young, one of the latest celebrity activists to speak out against this country and what we're doing in the oil sands. You hear him talk about George Bush. It's a very easy tap-in, 2-foot putt comparison. It conjures up ideas of evil and that the Harper administration is somehow doing you wrong as a taxpayer and doing the environment wrong and doing it all in the name of Canada. Well, it's a typical run of course for a lot of these celebrities, where they conjure up a bogeyman of some sort and then they try to feed off of that and feed off of things perhaps that they found on the internet. Laurie Goldstein is here to talk a little bit about this. Laurie, you talk about all these different people, and we'll get into some of the other celebrities in a second. What I've noticed over this last couple of days with Neil Young, there really isn't a lot of fact there, and some of the fact that he's using is more hyperbole without evidence.
Yeah, these things don't upset me that much, and the reason is this. I think he's a wonderful Canadian rocker and icon, and that's great. But I don't seek my advice on energy policy from a Canadian rock music star, just as I wouldn't seek advice on open heart surgery from my butcher. And the problem I think we have with these celebrities is that we impute righteousness to them and we impute goodness. We don't think that an accountant who's a good accountant is automatically a smart person, a good person, a moral person, able to talk about anything and have the correct view.
That's a great point.
We do think that about rock stars and celebrities, and I think it's part of our culture of personality, which I think is very unfortunate. And I think it shows a lessening of critical thinking, which is really what we need.
Well, see, the problem in my mind, you look at Daryl Hannah, for example. Yeah. She's been all over the internet making videos about the pipeline, the Keystone Pipeline, saying, it's damaging, Americans should rally around and tell Obama no. She uses a lot of flowery language, and unfortunately she gets a pulpit because, well, she was a mermaid 20 years ago, and she was in Wall Street 20 years ago. Even her acting credibility is gone from decades past, but we still give her that pulpit.
Look, I think she's sincere. And I understand we're all concerned about the environment. But when I listen to her, to Mr. Young, to Mr. Redford, their basic facts are just wrong. First of all, there's the absurd hyperbole. There's Neil Young comparing Fort McMurray, which is near the oil sands, to Hiroshima, which I think insults the victims of Hiroshima.
Absolutely.
I mean, it had to be done in the Second World War. It had to be done to end a war. But no one disagrees that the people of Hiroshima suffered. Innocent people suffered horribly to end a war. Hannah and Redford, I've heard them talk about the oil sands as being the prime driver of climate change on the planet.
Let's take a little look at what Robert Redford has to say.
Sure.
I mean, this came in the part of a commercial, which almost can be more damaging just because it gets played in rotation. Have a look at this.
Hello, I'm Robert Redford. I can understand why oil companies love tar sands. There's a lot of money to be made by strip mining and drilling the dirtiest oil on the planet. But why should the rest of us pay the price? Developing the Canadian tar sands is destroying our great northern forest at a terrifying rate. It's producing enough carbon pollution to wreak havoc with our climate for decades to come.
And now there you see, of course, the forest scene and then the barren land beside it. You see the dead fish, I think, a little later in the video. It's all just nonsense, really.
Well, what he just said was totally false. I don't know if he knows it's false, so I won't call it a lie. But simply put, one of the people who appeared with Neil Young is a Canadian climate scientist, an expert reviewer for the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change in the United Nations, Andrew Weaver, no friend of the Harper government, thinks the Harper government is mismanaging oil sands. But his research as a climate modeler concluded that not only that you could burn all the oil in the oil sands, not just what they're burning now, but all the potential oil in the oil sands, and the contribution to global warming would be statistically insignificant. You could burn all the oil in the world, and it would be a very small effect on global warming. The enemy of the climate, if you believe in the theory of man-made climate change, is coal. And the most damaging thing that's happening in North America, if you believe in this science, is that the Americans are using coal for about 40 to 50% of their electricity. We use it for under 20%.
Then why is nobody telling these actors this? Because you say, maybe nobody's telling Robert Redford the truth. Maybe nobody's telling James Cameron the truth. Why is it that they're not getting fed the truth?
Because if you tell Americans the truth, which is that you have to clean up your own house, Forget about Canada. That's our country. We'll deal with that. If you believe in what you're saying, you have to dramatically reduce the use of coal in the United States to burn electricity. You're the second biggest contributor to global warming, next to China. Why? Because China uses even more coal to burn. And what's happening, and this is interesting, in the United States, their greenhouse gas emissions are actually dropping. Why? Because they're using fracking technology to get these vast reserves of natural gas, and they are, wisely and responsibly, replacing coal slowly with natural gas to produce electricity. That's good, because natural gas is cleaner than coal. But you know what else is happening? U.S. coal exports to Europe and Asia are now at an all-time high. All-time record high. So not only are they contributing to damaging the climate, according to their rhetoric, because they burn too much coal, now they're exporting it all over the world. They're hypocrites. They're total hypocrites.
The first celebrity that comes out with that kind of truth, maybe I'll start paying attention to their movies a little more often. Appreciate the time on this.